As we said last week, and I'm going to say a few times, we go first. In Elul, HaShem wants us to initiate. And this is really, really carefully selected, working on Ahavas HaShem, okay? Because it helps us initiate in just such a beautiful way. About a year or two ago, I described our KLM classes as a Beit Knesset for kavanah. Let's remind ourselves what that is. And for the newcomers, welcome to the Beit Knesset for kavanah. I don't say it just as a little expression. Let me explain. What is the purpose of a Beit Knesset? This is what the Rashba in his Hidushei Agadot deals with, because if Shem is everywhere, I mean, don't you think standing on the top of a mountain or scuba diving, maybe you could have better kavanah to connect to a Kadosh Baruch Hu? Why do we need to be in these houses of gathering? What's so special and necessary about a Beit Knesset? So basically the Rashba explains that you come into this location called a Beit Knesset, and you gather together and you focus on being present in the presence of HaShem. You know, I'm giving shirim also in Har Nof right now. And there's this one woman very spiritual woman who's had suffering that you can't imagine. And she was saying that she realizes, you know, women, you got to give it to them because Hashem doesn't require them to daven in a Beit Knesset, the fact that they can focus at home. But anyway, she realized that she needed to go there and be focused and immersed to kind of reconnect with Hashem. So this is what the Rashba says, it's a place where you concentrate your energy and focus on that. And then what's ideally supposed to happen? You then go from the Beit Knesset, wherever you're going, out into your day, to your work, to your yeshiva, whatever you're doing, you go out there and you hopefully carry a little bit of the focus and connection of Hashem outwards, okay? That's what a Beit Knesset is. And this is tonight, and really I want us to do this every time we convene, even if you turned on the YouTube or whatever, however you're reaching this class. Consider this time you've entered a Beit Knesset of doing kavanah. We're going to do some actual focused work tonight. And then it's my prayer and my request of you for your benefit and for Klal Yisrael's benefit that then you try to take it outside as well. Okay? That's welcome to the Beit Knesset of kavanah. All right. So, you know, it's very funny. Baruch Hashem, many of you know that, thank God, we've just completed a KLM book that's aimed at really spreading the awareness, the practice, spreading it far and wide in a way that's digestible and doable. Okay, please God, it should be successful. So on Monday morning, I met with Rav Asher Weiss, and I showed him the Sefer. I asked him if he not only give us skama, but since we know how important kavanah mitzvahs is, I asked him if he'd consider writing an introduction to the Sefer, and please God, he agreed. He seemed to agree. So when he was glancing at the Sefer, he looks at me, he says, "What is KLM?" So I said, well, it stands for kavanah mitzvahs. So he got a little bit of a smile on his face, and he says, "Americans like abbreviations." So anyhow, but I bring up, that's just an introduction, because Rav Asher Weiss said his opinion about the essence of kavanah the mitzvahs, what he believes it is. And we'll talk about this more deeply when I hear back from him. But here's, you know what it is? And the reason I'm telling you this, we're going to do it right now. He claims that it's more than merely having conscious intention for what you're doing, for the mitzvah you're doing. He says the ikr is that you're being lishma, for Hashem's sake. In other words, you're doing the mitzvah to bring nachas ruach, to bring nachas to Hashem. So with that in mind, even though this is going to be the third stage of Ahavas Hashem, the third stage of Ahavas Hashem is service from love. But what are we doing right now? We're learning Torah in the presence of Hashem. So let's, given what Rav Weiss just said is the essence of kavanah the mitzvahs, everybody, again, if you're listening live, whenever you hear this, have in mind right now, this is such a good thing to offer Hashem right now. Have in mind the following: HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm listening to this Torah class. I'm in this Beit Knesset of kavanah to bring you nachas ruach because I love you and I want to bring you nachas. Okay, so that's the first thing. You're in this Beit Knesset. I hope you did that. Now let's move into Ahavas Hashem. Let's move. I want to review what we did last time, and then we're going to add another step. Okay. Let me share screen. Okay, we good?
Yeah, looks good, thanks.
All right. So this is the landscape. This isn't how we're going to master the material, but it's the landscape. And it's to remind us that you can, if you decide to, you can have Ahavas Hashem permeate your life because it applies in so many areas. And also, I'm going to flash this each time that we're working on Ahavas Hashem, so you become more familiar. But again, we have a simplified scheme coming up in a minute. All right. So number one, and the order is not organized really. But first of all, part of loving Hashem is loving him a lot, being meshuga, like we spoke about last week, okay? Number two is what we just did, is when you're doing any mitzvah or you're refraining from any avera, your agenda is nothing but love of Hashem, not to get reward or avoid punishment. It's not your motivation. So your motivation is bring nachas. Number three, okay, kiruv. And by the way, it's very famous now. Kiruv in everybody's mind is that when you take a non-religious person and you bring them closer to Hashem, no, there's kiruv krovim too. Whenever you bring someone else closer to Hashem through Torah, through Ava, whatever it is, that's a mitzvah of Ahavas Hashem, because everybody's Hashem. The Jewish people are his children. Okay. Next, 4, and we're going to talk about this tonight. Loving Hashem b'kol levavacha means that you don't have a divided heart towards Hashem. We'll discuss what that means. All right. The next one is again, but part of b'kol levavacha, to serve Hashem with your yetzer tov and yetzer hara. Coming up. The next thing, to eat and drink l'shem shamayim, right? The focus of your pleasure is to dedicate every aspect of yourself to Hashem. That's another expression. Do you see this covers a lot of parts of your day? Next, to be willing to give your life for Hashem, to be moser nefesh on the way, even before having to give your life. 8, to serve Hashem with your resources to Hashem. Okay, we'll explain that. And finally, and this we'll discuss tonight, to love Hashem b'kol miodecha also means b'kol mida shemoded lecha, meaning everything Hashem measures out, his pleasantries and his retribution. Okay, that's the map. And now let's focus. All right, next one. Oh, no, this is a different one. Okay, give me a second. Okay. Okay, give me 1 second, please. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Thank you, Hashem. Almost there. Here we go. Okay. Here, this is what we discussed last time. The process works as follows, taking all those 9 different expressions and simplifying them. The first thing you have to do is love Hashem. When you cultivate love Hashem, and after you've cultivated that, then you go to step 3 is serving Hashem with Ahavas. Okay, now it's not a rigid process. We started with our intentions for this year, but this is the basic path to do it in a very deep way. So, as we mentioned last time, and the Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva, which really reinforces that we're well focused right now, is this process. To know Hashem is to love Hashem. And then to serve Hashem. Okay, that's the process. And we discussed that the first thing is we have to do things to get to know Hashem better. And this in our soul starts to feel love. It's a process. I spoke about this with Rabbi Green. It's a process that just works. It's built into existence that when you have a actual knowledge of a yediyah, a deya of Hashem, it evokes love, okay? Now, the exercise I gave last week, I just want to share with you, it's not only going to help you love Hashem, it can invigorate your whole chakras, because I realized it's amazing how well chakras is designed to do this exact dynamic, to know and then to love. And again, as Rabbi Aritzi Setzer showed me, that we're supposed to, when you recite Kriya Shema and say, V'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha, right? When you say those words, the Sefer Haredim, Mishnah Brura, love should enter your heart. And he says it's so important. If you are rushed and you couldn't do it in chakras, before you leave shul, or the woman before you go do whatever you do in chakras, you do this process. So why is chakras so set up for this? Pasuki de Zimra. Pasuki de Zimra is Torah that's talking about the wonders of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his providence, the creation. It is absolutely so perfectly designed to know Hashem. You hear? So what I suggested, and if you didn't do it last week, please try it now. But you know what? We're going to do it right now, because the Mishnah Brura said it's an exercise you're supposed to do. Reflect on Hashem, and then feel the love, express the love to Hashem. So I'm going to do an exercise. Like I said, we're in the Beit Knesset. We're going to do this right now. If you want to grab your sitter, but I don't know if I want to take too much time for us to get to the exact same place. I'll do an example right now. And again, you're in shul with me. You're in the shul for kavanah, and I want you to do this exercise along with me. I'm going to read a pasuk in the Pasukei de Zimra. I'm going to, let's say, enhance our connection to it, because I'm going to read you Rabbi Victor Miller on it. And that way we will know Hashem. And then we'll, after we absorb that, then I want us to feel Ahavas Hashem, and of course to have kavanah for the mitzvah of Ahavas Hashem. Okay, now we might as well reap the moment even further. We're doing the mitzvah of iyun tefillah. We're looking carefully into the tefillah. Have in mind that mitzvah, and we're studying Torah. Okay, by this. Okay, I'm gonna control myself. But get ready to know Hashem. In the Pasukei de Zimra, this is in Tehillim Mem Yud Bet. Okay, so it says, Chazdecha va'amitecha tamid yitzruni. Your kindness and your truth constantly guard me. That's something you say in Pasukei de Zimra on a daily basis. Your kindness, Hashem, and your truth constantly guard me. Let me explain what truth means according to Rabbi Miller, and it fits like a glove. Truth means Hashem's consistent keeping of his promise, okay? So ready, listen to these words. With the goal of knowing Hashem. It says here, tamid, constantly. That means without pause. In other words, the pasuk reads, your kindness and your truth without pause guard me. Why? For if his kindness and his truth should be interrupted for a moment, no one could exist. A man's existence and the existence of the entire universe is solely due to God's kindness and truth, which stand guard over him. Now listen to this, and this is a beautiful setup on what we're going to also focus on. When some mishap occurs, Kasha, its purpose is to remind him of the hundreds of thousands of other times that Hashem's kindness stood guard over us incessantly. Chazdecha, your chesed and your truth constantly without pause guard me, because if it paused for a second, there'd be no existence. To know him. Okay. Now have in mind to claim the mitzvah of Ahavas Hashem. And just say to yourself, I love you. I'll put it in my words. I love you, Hashem, for the fact that every second your kindness and your truth are guarding over me and keeping me in existence. Thank you. I love you. Okay. So that's the exercise I'm advocating that you do in Shachris. You're davening Shachris anyhow. Grab one pasuk. Just think about it like for a few seconds. And then when you get the Kriya Shmo and you, like parrots, you mark your sitter, you put a little heart by the Ahavta, right? And have in mind Ahavas Hashem, and let that one reflection in the Pasukei Zimra enter your heart, and you'll sincerely fulfill the mitzvah. And if it's too rushed in davening, don't leave till you've done it. Okay, now we're going to the next aspect of where we're at. So again, know Hashem, love Hashem, meaning feel love for Hashem. That's the mitzvah we've discussed so far. However, in this section, when you know Hashem, it also can lead to loving Hashem even in difficult times and troubles. Let me show you by the next slide. Okay, so if you look in the middle section, to love Hashem very much, which we just did, okay? But it also branches into two, in other words, the process is when you know that Hashem is the God who took you out of Egypt and is mashgiach over everything. There's no other powers. Hashem is one and behind everything. So this can help you fulfill Look on the left, number 1, in the middle section. Ahavas HaShem b'kol mida u'mida shemoded lecha. Feeling love Hashem with everything he measures out, the good and the difficult. Okay, so when and believe me, we do get difficulties. A lot of people are having challenges with their children, spiritually, physically. That's mamash rahmanis and difficult. People are having challenges getting married. And the people I'm alluding to right now are really, really love Hashem, So, but they're experiencing difficulties. So if you are, right, so you should have in mind the mitzvah of Hashem, I love you with everything you measure out, okay? Now, we're going to do this in a minute, but first I'm just introducing to the basic mitzvah. Now go to the right side, number 2. Loving Hashem, b'kol levavecha, that you're not leiv v'leiv, you don't have a divided heart, meaning that you feel love of Hashem when he's treating you well, but when he's not treating well, you have kashas, you have difficulties, you have a hard time accepting Hashem's treatment of you. So when you don't ask difficulties, and by the way, obviously most of us are clever enough to say, Shem, it's difficult to justify how you're treating me right now, because no, we don't do it like that. We complain. We just don't make it super explicit that towards Hashem, but Lamaisa, that's who we're complaining about, right? So this is curbing complaints is a mitzvah deraisa of Ahavas Hashem, okay? But remember the process to know Hashem leads to love Hashem. So this is, Peretz said, I want people to do a writing exercise right now, okay? We're gonna write something down, and then we're gonna actually fulfill these 2 mitzvahs of Ahavas Hashem, okay? But I want to share some data about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, something to know about Hashem that'll make it much easier to love Hashem, these 2 mitzvahs of loving Hashem with difficulties, meaning to love him when he measures it out, and to not complain and ask difficulties about the treatment we're getting. Okay, so everybody, if you can write down computer, piece of paper, whatever. But what I want to, I could have posted this for you, and you'll read it, and it'll have a fleeting effect. But what I'm going to share with you is so powerful, and I hope that the exercise of writing it down and seeing it, the more you're involved in the process in taking the information, obviously it's going to penetrate you more. Okay, so please, I'm going to get the piece. And while I get the piece, be prepared to write this down, okay? Okay, where's that X? There it is. Paris, am I still on shared screen?
No, share screen's off.
It's off, good, I want it to be. Okay, everybody. This comes from the parak Shar Bitachon in Hovos HaLevavos. This is our 7 reasons why we should feel comfortable putting our complete trust in Hashem. 7 reasons to completely trust Hashem. So I want you to write these down and let the idea penetrate your mind, and then hopefully it's going to go to our heart. Okay? Number 1, Hashem is completely compassionate and in love with us more than anybody else in your life. I repeat, Hashem is completely compassionate and in love with us more than anyone in our lives. Two, HaShem actively attends to our every need. HaShem actively attends to our every need. Number three, HaShem is completely capable of taking care of those needs. HaShem is completely capable of taking care of our needs. Number four, HaShem knows what's best for us. Number four, HaShem knows what's best for us. Number five, HaShem has been taking care of us from birth until this moment. Number five, HaShem has been taking care of us from birth till this moment. Number six, we are completely in Hashem's hands. No one else can help us or harm us without his consent. Number six, we are completely in his hands. No one can help us or harm us without his consent. Number seven, HaShem is utterly kind and generous, independent of our worthiness. Number seven, HaShem is utterly kind and generous, independent of our worthiness. Okay, take a look at your list. And the next thing we're doing in this Beit Knesset of kavanah is take a moment and think of some difficulties you are currently experiencing or have recently experienced. Everybody take a moment and focus in on something like that. Okay, now, okay, you have your list, and I hope you have identified some difficulties. And now, we're going to fulfill these two mitzvahs, okay? Just give me a second. I want to frame myself as well, if you don't mind. I'm in the shul too. Okay. So have in mind to fulfill the mitzvah d'oraisa of Ahavas HaShem, b'kol levavacha, with an undivided heart, meaning we should express in our heart, quite sincerely, HaShem, I have no complaints. I trust your judgment about this. Just like our own, we shouldn't have to have our own Cohen's challenge. He was quiet, but Avram Avinu, right? We're emulating Avram Avinu when we don't ask questions, we don't complain in our hearts. So let's express that to Hashem, okay, fulfilling that mitzvah. And now let's go to the other one. Ahavas Hashem b'kol mido mido shemodeh lecha. These difficulties that Hashem is currently bestowed on us, okay, Hashem, I makabel this with love, because I know, I mean, after all, you know what's best for me. You're capable. You've been with me till now. You love me more than anybody in my life, etc. When I think of this, when I have that knowledge, I love you because I know that whatever's happening now is for my best, and you're giving me an opportunity to love you and serve you in this context. Okay, I hope you had that in mind. Okay, so we've just finished kavanahing. And again, the ideal, like the Rashba says, is that you take the Yiras Hashem and the connection you experienced in shul into your life, okay? So it's Elul, and it's time to be a little meshuggah and really push ourselves, go out of our comfort zone or our habit zone. And let's try again. Let's try to take Pesuki de Zimra and use it as a vehicle to let love enter our heart when we say the Shema. Okay? Please do that exercise. Just give it everything you got. And then secondly, maybe we should take a little time, as often as we can, daily would be great, to reflect on the reasons to trust him. You know, if you can master any 7 points, this would be up there, and then use that to fulfill the mitzvahs of Ahavas Hashem b'kol mida mida and b'kol lev with an undivided heart. Okay, Hashem should help us.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're very welcome. So
that was beautiful, really beautiful. You want me to give up all control?
Is that a Shaila, Kasha?
It's a little bit of a kasha.
Yeah, what do you mean though? What do you
meaning, you know, just putting everything, you know, walk out of shul and, you know, we all have our lives from the mundane to the profound. We have to make decisions all day. And, you know, sometimes the consequences are not so pleasant. Again, could be mundane, could be profound. You know, we think that we have some role in that, the outcome. We think that we have some role in the decision itself. And accepting that everything is Hashem's will, everything is for the best. And, you know, in every part of our life, in a way, in a sense, is really a true and deep, not just leap of faith, but ascending a whole nother level of faith, where that you just say, you know, in a sense, it's a abdication of some control.
So I think I know which point in the Ahavas Levavos you're referring to, right? It says Hashem, we're completely in his hands, right? And it said, no one can harm or help you, but listen to this, without his consent, okay? So the inference is, with his consent, people can help you. Let's just focus on the help part for right now. You hear what I'm saying? So that means that you make an effort to get help when you need it, or you help yourself. You hear? It's just ultimately we're in his hands because it won't go through unless Hashem ratifies it. So it's not talking about like, okay, I don't have to do anything, or I shouldn't make hishtadlus, because ultimately is we're totally in Hashem's hands. It's just that we have to realize that whatever the net result is, kol bidei shemayim, right? Whatever the net result was, that was because Hashem consented to it. But we have to do our very best effort before us to do what we think is necessary in our lives. Do you hear? Does that?
No, it does. It resonates with me. And, so much of what you said made me think of, there's an analogy or metaphor that Rabbi Green used to give, that if someone came to you and said, for 1 hour, you have to keep your own heart pumping, heart beating, by just every 60 seconds, say, go. Every 60 seconds, you have to say, go. How would you spend that hour? Like, you'd be looking at your watch every second, go. Okay, it's the time, go, right? Right? And right, like that's what's happening every second, right? That you'd be talking about Meshuggah. You couldn't do anything else. You couldn't do anything else, right? So I get that. I'm on that page. I just think of that, Bli Ayin Hara. I know that there's other people who feel deprived. Let's say the loss of a loved one. Some other, the absence of a marriage partner, and they just feel that's been going on, or they feel like someone was taken away from them much too soon in their life. And to grapple with that and to say that, if Hashem loves me, why did Hashem deal me this card?
Right, to not say that, that's the mitzvah of Ahavas Hashem b'kol ha'olam. You're saying it's very hard. Right.
It's an obstacle for some people.
Yes.
Yes. And like how can I, why am I alone? Why is my mother not with me? Why did Hashem decree that she die at a young age? Right.
I'm glad you're bringing it up very much. First of all, again, the qualification is that Hashem gives us human beings and gives us mentors, rabbis. We are supposed to process our pain and difficulties with people, Hashem, and let's say in prayer, okay? So it's not that we're supposed to just sit there quietly and not and I might have sounded like that by saying not complaining, right? But there's the idea is to first of all is to integrate. If you integrate the 7 points about Hashem, right? For those people and for us in our places, we're having these we can't understand it, and if we had permission, we would ask a difficulty, right? So if we integrate that, and if those people integrate that, I think their way of dealing with it won't be to complain or ask a difficulty. They may be in pain and they need to share their pain. Rabbi Green shared about his first wife's father. The Yisurim that the man dealt with in the Shoah, and he lost his daughter, Rabbi Green's first wife, etc. It was just unbelievable series of things. He spelled them out a bit, and he was the one who said, he said in sitting Shiva for his daughter and Rabbi Green's wife, he said, when you get up there, I don't know if you can ask questions, but if we do, I have a few questions. You hear? But it's unbelievable, and he understood that you're not, again, if we integrate the truth of those 7 points, if we know Hashem in that way, we realize we're not capable of understanding it. And It hurts, and it's a inside, we can't make sense of it, but we're not going to direct it, at HaShem like Avram Avinu did in Aaron, etc.
At some point, are we supposed to, I know the beginning of Mesilas Yesharim talks about, this world is a foyer, right? At some point, is that factor in that essentially, Yisurim in this world, difficulties in this world, it's just the beginning of the picture, that there's and that we, obviously the Gemara talks all the time about HaShem in his kindness will give us Yisurim in this world to clean our slate, for the world to come. So, at some point, is part of this, do you think of, well, the real life is in the world to come. So how does that factor play into this?
Well, so that's the, give me 1 second. Right. That's what the Mishnah Brura explains. It says you're supposed to make a bracha on the bad, just like the good. Okay. So with the same simcha. So he says, is one of the explanations is, it says that Yitzhak Avinu requested Yisurim. He requested to be blind. And Hashem said, okay, I know people might have a question on that, but Hashem said, good request. And he gave it to him. And the Mishnah Brura explained, because really he understood that it is much better to go through these difficulties in the world now, and then have a clean slate for the world to come. So that is the way, one of the ways the Mishnah Brura advises to fulfill Ahavas Hashem b'kol mida shemodeh lecha, to makabel yisurim ba'ava. That's one of the ways. But the other thing that occurred to me when you're saying this is, if in Pesachim, if you'll see in the Shatten scene, is it says that right now in this world we make a dayan emes, right? Baruch dayan emes. In the world to come, we'll make a tov and meitiv, meaning all these kashas we have.
Right. Wow.
We will actually realize it was good. So Hashem's going to bring us terutzim. See, we just don't ask kashas, right? Like Rabbi Green's father-in-law, we shouldn't ask questions, but we will get terutzim in the world to come.
Right. That's very helpful to understand that, that you can, one of the ways to implement loving Hashem with whatever he measures out to you, chol mida, is to realize that it could be a bracha. It could be a real bracha. Rabbi Green likes to say, people used to say, hey man, get a life. And Rabbi Green says, hey man, get an afterlife. So if you look at, if you look at everything, it's about the afterlife. What you're getting here, you're basically, you're paying a toll. Right.
And this extra point, I think, is so important that it really isn't a negative. We just can't grasp it now. Hashem will show us it wasn't a negative at all. I
just want to tell everybody that in July of 2019, I broke my clavicle. I shattered it. I was in terrible pain. I called Rabbi Wegbreit. This was, I think, summer of 2019 was before the launch of KLM. And the advice Rabbi Wegbreit gave me was, in these moments of extreme pain, try to accept it and with Ahavas Hashem and Yiras Hashem and serve Hashem even through the pain.
Yeah, that's by the way, that's the Shulchan Aruch explanation. Yeah. All right, beautiful. Okay, everybody, please, Elul, no TV shows. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
It's